Hey everyone, it's Ophelia Jacobson with Campus Reform. Today we're joined by Congressman Andy Biggs from the state of Arizona, and we'll be discussing some of the most pressing issues that college students are facing today. So my first question to you is, what do you think is the biggest threat for college students on campus?
Well, if you mean tuition, it could be tuition, but I do think that the ideological indoctrination that's going on at university campuses has become more virulent and more active. Even in the last 4 years, it's been totally exposed, but it's been around for a while. But we've moved there for generations, but it is really striking right now.
Now you mentioned tuition. You know, there's a big debate about canceling student loan debt. Should we do that? The Biden administration is pushing for that. Do you think that canceling student loan debt in one full sweep is the answer to this crisis that we're facing?
No, it's not. In fact, it'll have the almost exact opposite effect. If you look back and see the correlation between the availability of federally insured student loans, you'll see a concomitant rise in tuition. And the reason that is because the universities say, well, okay, we're gonna get more money from these students. They can then in turn borrow that money, and it becomes kind of a revenue stream for the universities. And that's why I think that that's the side that you need to get at if you want to see tuition prices come down.
So what is the alternative in your viewpoint?
Well, you can restructure the student loans. We've seen workouts and restructuring of loans all the time, whether it's the consumer grade or actually commercial grade. You could do the same thing here. If you don't do a workout for them, if you were to wipe them out, then somebody has to pay for that. And it's not free. Someone will pay for it. And it'll be, oddly enough, your generation who borrowed the money, because we don't have any money to pay for it, so it's going to go on the national debt and increase that.
And how do we get that message across, that canceling student loan debt isn't just this simple solution that it's free? Someone, like you said, is going to have to pay for it. How do we relay that message to students who think that money is just going to fall from the sky to pay for their student loans?
Well, I think we have to talk about it in simple terms, dealing with what's best to help you work, live, learn, and play in a way that you want to, that fulfills your ideals and your goals. And one way to do it is say, well, let's just take half of what you have right now and give it to somebody else. And they'll say, well, I don't have much. Doesn't matter. There are a lot of people that have less than you, and we're going to just take half and give it to them. It's the same principle. Somebody has to pay for it sooner or later, and so you have to give some very concrete, simple explanations, because the Biden administration doesn't even understand it themselves. So.
And another crisis that we're facing on college campuses, you mentioned that you keep up with some of the work we do at Campus Reform. We've done multiple videos in the past couple of weeks dealing with this anti-American sentiment that we're seeing with college students. How do we combat that? And I guess the first part to that question is, what do you think is driving that sentiment in the first place?
I think what's driving the sentiment is it's a multi-generational devolution, if you will, of American ideals and American history. I'll just try to make it as simple as I can. You're now reached the apex of the anti-American sentiment. People who used to say question authority are now in authority on college campuses. So since the 60s, you've seen a dynamic leftward trend on college campuses, and now it is manifest. And the K-12 institution was taken over as well. So kids coming out of college today, young people coming out of college today, they have been indoctrinated from kindergarten all the way through in a very left-wing mantra. It gets to this Europeanization that Obama talked about, that he wanted, and it also gets to this this attempt to eliminate the Westphalian state that they don't like.
And one last question for you. I don't know if you've read the book 1984 by George Orwell.
Yeah.
So
this year again.
You did. I mean, it's an important book to read right now in our times, and many people will say that what's happening on college campuses and basically in broader society is coming straight from that book. With college campuses specifically, how can we prevent, the environment that college students face on college campus from becoming the environment that we read about in the book 1984?
Well, I think it takes some stern action by the funders. So I think some state governments, some state legislatures are now going in and they're saying, if you're going to teach this theory, we're not going to give you funding to do that. I have introduced legislation. Others in Congress have introduced legislation to do the same thing. If you're not just on the grant side, but similar to Title IX, where if you take students who get federally insured student loans, you have to abide by Title IX. I would say the same thing goes here. If you were taking student loan money is coming in, then if you're teaching CRT, if you're teaching this type of diatribe, you're not going to get the money. And I think that would have some leverage points with the administration who would come in and say, look, you can't do it. Now, that's the first basic step I think that has to do it. You have to find the leverage point. To me, that's the biggest leverage point available right now.
And to finally close this all out, back to school season is coming up. What is your message to college students going into this new school year? How should they combat, the crisis of free speech on campus, critical race theory, all of these issues that we're seeing for conservative college students? What would be your message to them?
Well, they need to keep close record of what's going on. They need to get to places like campus reform so you guys can get it out there because that is the other leverage point. The one leverage point that the government has is the money, but the critical mass of narrative from the American people that will resonate and cause a leverage point with the actual school administrators who need to go in and clean house. This notion of giving tenure to somebody who hates America, is going to indoctrinate in America, who's going to prevent people from speaking and have contrary points of view. Look, I was 40 years old when I was working on postgraduate work, and I was an attorney that had tried hundreds of cases, had a family with lots of kids. I made a lot of money, and I knew that these guys, they control your academic future. If I wanted to be a professor, I needed to be able to get through the PhD process. That still goes on, and these administrations need to get rid of professors who do not entertain a contrary point of view. And so that's where I say the videos that come into you guys, the stories that come into you are so important because it helps build a critical mass of opposition that will cause administrators to respond.
Hi, I'm Ophelia Jacobson with Campus Reform. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I can guarantee you're going to like our other videos on our YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe right here. Help us expose more liberal bias on college campuses across the nation by clicking this button here to donate. And if you're interested in getting a cool hat like this one, you can click the button right here.